I'm so excited that one, you're a part of the 3S team, and two, I get to interview you for Asian American Pacific Islander Month. So you love entrepreneurship. You geek out about it just like all of us. Tell me how you got into, like, what sparked that in you, or like how did you get introduced to entrepreneurship?
It's definitely a long journey. Informally, I got into it. I don't know if I've even told you this, but informally, I got into it in high school because I would make comic books and make popcorn. Have I told you this?
I think I've heard it. Tell me the popcorn story.
Okay. So my mom taught me how to make popcorn like from scratch. Okay. And I realized that popcorn kernels are really cheap. And like, you know, people sell kettle corn at the farmer's market they really up the price. So I'm like, I could do this. And I started selling popcorn in my high school. And I was making like 200 times the profit of.
That's awesome.
And the reason why I did it is that I was trying to get money to go to the movies because I love watching movies. And so that's how I informally got into entrepreneurship as a high schooler. And then I formally got into it when I went to my undergrad in Syracuse, and I joined like a learning community. So it was a specific dorm for people who are interested in creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And I was in it for the creativity. But then I got into the entrepreneurship part a little bit more because I realized that everybody who's in that group was building something, inventing something on the bleeding edge of like new inventions and stuff. And I was super into that. And I was really interested to see how like passionate these people were about whatever industry they were obsessed with. And I just wanted to follow that energy. So that's how I dipped my toe into it. And it's been like that ever since. Just
now you're all the way in the pool, all the way in. I love it. What do you hope that entrepreneurship education looks like in the future? You've experienced it. You experience what we deliver at 3DS. You've also observed a lot of other organizations. I mean, if you had to set the vision for it, what would you want it to look like?
Yeah, I think that entrepreneurship is such a great platform for people to combine their passions with the type of economy that we're in, which is like a capitalist economy. And so it's like you can play the game of the world by activating like your passions and like what you're good at by monetizing them. And I think that entrepreneurship and startups and starting your own business has often been seen as unattainable or like a hobby for people that could do it on the side. But the OG entrepreneurs were the ones that chose entrepreneurship out of necessity. And they were the ones that were like, yo, I got to make an extra buck. So I'm going to make this, provide this service. And that's how businesses are started. And unfortunately, it's not super easy to get into because there's a learning curve, but everybody should be able to at least get started and learn how to get started so they have that option. And so I think entrepreneurship education just needs to be destigmatized as something that is not accessible. And it just should be like, it kind of should be seen as like an extracurricular. Like, it's like, oh, are you into sports? Are you into music? Or are you into like entrepreneurship, like business? But it's not like that, the button up and tie business, but it's like your own thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And I like the reframing around like not the button up and tie thing. What does this month mean to you as someone that identifies as a part of the AAPI community?
Great cue. Haven't heard it before. Just kidding. I got these questions beforehand. Yeah, so I am half Filipino, half white. My mom is Filipino. My dad is white. He's more pink, but he's white. And so this month, May, is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And for me, it really seems like the time to share stories of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders who have walked the walk, they're succeeding, they are just like in really inspiring positions. And this is the month for them to tell their stories to people who want to do the same thing or are trying to also be successful, or do things that they never thought of before. And I think it's really cool when you see somebody that looks like you or they share the same roots as you who's really killing it and they're on top of their game. And I think you can celebrate it more than being like super jealous or resentful of it. But I think that like Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, their heritage is very proud, and like you're really proud to be Asian, you're proud to be Pacific Islander. It's like when I see other Filipinos, I'm like, you can tell they're Filipino and you're like, hey, are you Filipino? Like, heck yeah, super proud of it. It's awesome. And if you see that in a story that's being shared in your industry, then that's super cool. And you're like, hey, if someone that looks like me is doing that, then I could do that too. So it's kind of like it's a manifestation in real life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I love that. I love it. What does showing up and showing support for the AAPI community, what does that look like in your mind?
Yeah, I think showing support to the AAPI community is being a good listener and also connecting them with opportunities, like whether those opportunities are like people or tools or initiatives. And I think the coolest thing that you could do to help somebody out is just make a connection, because it's like, it's free and you're basically just telling somebody like, hey, this made me think of you, or like this would be something you might be interested in or good at. And then you don't have to do anything, and people you tell about it can do with it what as they may do it. And like, and yeah, I think that's a really big support thing, because if you connect somebody with an opportunity that they may have not had access to that before, that is worth its weight in gold.
That's awesome. I love that. Cool. Okay. Any of these other questions you really want to answer on video?
Yeah.
They're all good. And yes, no, I did not know you were a drum major. That's a very big deal. That's a very important job. I was in the percussion line. That's a very big job.
Really? Did you play snare?
Interestingly,
did you play cymbals?
I did not play cymbals. So I was a piano player. This is how I got into marching band. This is all recorded too. This is how I got into marching band. I was a competitive piano player, and my high school happened to have a tuba drop out, and like they needed a tuba in the ensemble. So the band director contacted me. He's like, you can play with one hand on a keyboard. We'll blast it. You will be the tuba. Wow. From a keyboard. And then I was like, well, can I play the marimba? Like, that's kind of like a piano. Yeah. Like I can read music. I can do all the things. Like I know rhythm and stuff. And so then they just let me pick up like little things and be a part of the drum line.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And then when piano was allowed or keyboard was allowed, then I just rocked on the piano or the keyboard.
So have you ever met a tuba player and you're like, I've played tuba once?
I think of that every time. I was like, I was a tuba player once, just on a keyboard. Which also was like the worst feeling almost in my life, because in the blazing summer heat, like people are marching and they're like hot and they're practicing, right? And I'm just standing there comfortably, like
just like bing bong, bing bong.
On the tuba, getting nice tan. Like,
yeah, didn't even have to carry the tuba.
I did not at all.
So were you in like the pit and just had to stand there, or did you also march?
No, I never marched. I was just in the pit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just in the pit.
Very different
Energy.
experiences.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But anyways, I just wanted you to know that I had mad like respect for that. I know what that means.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think my way of learning is being an observer and then being like, I could do that and I could do that better. And so I saw the drum major killing it and I was like, I could do that and I could do it better. And I did, and it was awesome. And I think that's honestly how I live my life. So just
Do
try,
it and
whatever.
do it better.
Yeah.
Look at it, do it better. That's
Yeah.
very iterative. That's very lean. I like it. Awesome. Okay. Is there anything else here you want to talk about specifically?
I mean, I definitely have like some self-reflection on this, like how do you identify and how does like your culture like contribute to, what was the question?
Yeah. How's your heritage?
Has your heritage shaped the person you are today? Yeah, because I was thinking about that, and yeah, because like it's very interesting for mixed people, and I feel like it's gonna be interesting in the future because the future is mixed. And we're just like mixing more and more. And even though my mom is like 100% Filipino, she used to be like picked on, and people are like, you're not Filipino enough because you don't speak the language. And like I've never experienced that. It sucks that she had to experience that. But yeah, I acknowledge that, like I'm very white passing. I have like a very European name. And but like when I have the opportunity to be like, yeah, I'm Filipino, I'm really, really proud about it, even though it's not like a thing that people like think of the first time we meet or whatever. So yeah, I was thinking about this question, and I was like, okay, yeah, like I use my Filipino-ness to connect with other Filipinos. And I likened it to like how Hispanic people know like other people are Hispanic and they'll speak Spanish to them and like treat them nicer, and it's just like it's kind of an unspoken brotherhood that
Cool.
you have. And that was really cool. Yeah, and I just think a big part of AAPI culture is pride, and I just think that's pretty important to like be proud of who you are, and you are like, as you are fully who you are, and there's never like a right amount that you need to be in order to identify with your identity.